A long time ago, when mankind still lived in caves and evolution was just beginning to take its first steps, the planet was dominated by giant monsters that are now nothing more than fossils. You may have heard something like this before, but the reality is a little more complicated. Hi folks, the vast majority of dinosaurs, for example, were the same size as a human being or maybe even smaller. And the blue whale, which as far as scientists know is the largest animal that ever existed, is as recent an animal as we are. But despite this, the typical image that most people have of that time is not totally wrong. The monstrous beings like the Patagontitan Kelenken and the Titanoboa really existed. Today here on our channel we will present the most monstrous animals that ever existed. What kind of monsters walked on our planet? Let's see, but before you do not forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Megatherium. The actual sloth bug is a friendly and somewhat comical animal. He is a relatively small and slow-moving mammal. But the truth is that until recently he had a scary relative that instead of cheering us up would cause great panic. Imagine if a sloth bug the size of an elephant, or maybe even bigger, were to stand up in front of you, for it was a Megatherium. Among the animals we are going to present, the Megatherium is the most recent, younger than the Australopithecus. Its last species is said to have been extinct by humans about 15,000 years ago. It lived on the American continent, and despite its scary appearance, it was herbivorous and very peaceful. But its claws so sharp, no one would like to be struck by its hands or paws. Patagontitan. Now a question, what was the greatest dinosaur that ever existed? Probably many of you answered Tyrannosaurus rex, but this is incorrect. Paleontologists have confirmed the existence of dinosaurs much larger than Tyrannosaurus. The largest among them is believed to be the Patagontitan, found in the Patagonia region of Argentina in 2008. Scientists estimate that a young Patagontitan measured 30 to 38 meters long and weighed 50 to 69 tons. That means it was 3 times larger than a Tyrannosaurus and between 5 to 6 times heavier. It is likely that it would not even notice if it stepped on human. Arthropleura. Are you guys disgusted by lizards, crawling insects, and other disgusting arthropods in general? In that case, we know exactly what your worst nightmare looks like. Introducing Arthropleura. Arthropleura lived from the late Carboniferous to the early Permian in what is now North America and Scotland, and probably also lived in Germany, Poland, and Belgium, about 345 million to 295 million years ago. The smallest species of this giant centipede measured 30 centimeters in length, while the Arthropleura armata species was an incredible 2.5 meters long. To the moment, Arthropleura armata is considered the largest terrestrial invertebrate that ever existed. It is thanks to the abundant oxygen in the atmosphere at the time that it was able to become this size. But on subsequent geological scales, including the present day, such a giant invertebrate could not exist. It would already die asphyxiated quickly. Jaekelopterus. Let's go back even further in time to find yet another monster that turned out to be a mere fossil. Look at this crab that would probably easily tear a human apart. Jaekelopterus was not a crab, but a relative of a primitive arthropod that lived in various aquatic regions from the Ordovician to the end of the Permian, called a sea scorpion. This giant creature lived in the Upper Devonian around 400 million years ago. Within the specimens that scientists have been able to verify, the maximum size was up to 2.5 meters, but theoretically it is possible that there were even bigger ones. What is interesting is that the sea scorpion may have been one of the first species to breathe terrestrial air. Some scientists believe that it could stay on terrestrial soil for about a few hours. Just imagine, you are walking along the beach when suddenly a giant kiss appears in front of you. Scary, isn't it? Inostrancevia. During the Permian, some millions of years before dinosaurs appeared, Gorgonops was the most dangerous predator. This primitive pterapsid, which looks very much like the scaleless reptile, terrorized the herbivorous animals until the end of that geological range. The largest species among the Gorgonops was Inostrancevia, which lived in what is now Russian territory. It is believed to have been over 3 meters long and weighed about 300 kilograms. If a defenseless human were to encounter such a monster, his only chance of survival would be to flee immediately. The curious thing is that both its appearance and the structure of its teeth is very similar to saber-tooth, which appeared much later and was not a descendant or anything like it. Scientists call this phenomenon evolutionary convergence, where beings that do not have genetic connections, but have an apparent lifestyle and occupy the same position in the ecosystem, end up acquiring the same characteristics. Pelagornis Sandersi. About 25 million years ago, on the ground in South Carolina, in the United States, there is a tree called by the Garrison des. This area is famous in the scientific world for being one of the largest flying birds that ever existed on our planet. With its wings spread out, it could measure up to 6 to 7.5 meters and weigh 40 kilograms. The most impressive thing is that even with all this size, it could actually fly. And considering that such a creature was probably carnivorous, we feel very sorry for its prey. And to top it all off, its beak has a spine similar to teeth. Can you imagine how terrible the presence of this flying monster was? Surely, no one would want to come across such a bird during a quiet walk in a wild forest. Probably the only one who could fight it off would be the Argentavis. The Argentavis weighed more than 70 kilograms, and with its wings outstretched, it could reach a length of 5 to 6.5 meters. And like the Pelagornis Sandersi, it was also a carnivorous predator. If these two species fought, it would certainly be exciting. But we would probably never get a chance to see anything like this, because the Argentavis lived in Argentina about 9 million to 6.8 million years ago, long after the Pelagornis Sandersi. Kelenken. Next we want to introduce one more species, the main-legged monster of the family Ferocious. This giant flightless bird appeared in present-day South America 62 million years ago and quickly took over from the dinosaurs that had been extinct millions of years before. After that, they survived for a really long time. The most recent confirmed sample is from only 18,000 years ago. The extinction of the Ferocious was not caused by humans, but by the war against carnivorous mammals. About 2.7 million years ago, when the Panama stimulus was formed, they began to move into South America. The war to gain their position in the ecosystem lasted a long time, but in the end the giant birds lost. Most notable among the Ferocious is a bird called the Kelenken. They lived about 15 million years ago in Patagonia. Its skull alone is more than 70 centimeters long and its height reached 3.2 meters. No doubt as soon as it reached its prey it would strike a fatal blow using its giant beak. Probably no creature could survive after its deadly blow. However, some say that it mainly fed on the carcasses of other creatures and terrorized its rivals with its terrible appearance. Titanoboa. This giant snake, called Titanoboa, lived in Colombia about 60 million years ago. It is speculated that it was up to 12 meters long, and could sometimes exceed 1 ton. Therefore, it is considered to be the largest snake that ever existed. It is classified as a relative of the current subfamily Bovini and could theoretically coil up and strangle just about any prey. They lived after the extinction of the dinosaurs, but if they had lived at the same time, it's possible that even giant lizards wouldn't have been able to stand up to them. But interestingly, despite being so powerful, the Titanoboa apparently preferred to feed on fish. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. We still have many more prehistoric monsters to present to you. The Valley Trolleybus confirmed the existence of several monsters on our planet during the hundreds of millions of years after the Cambrian, both terrestrial and flying. If this video has a good acceptance, we will bring you a second part. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel so we know if you'd like a sequel too. We are waiting for your comments saying I want the sequel. We have 2 more awesome videos for you, they are playing on your screen right now. Bye! And see you next video.